Hello, my name is Marion. My parents married young and I was their first child. They wanted to give me the best life they could, so they decided not to have more children. However, last year, my mom discovered that she was pregnant, and they were surprised, but also thrilled. So, I became a big sister, very big in fact, because I'm already 14 years older than my baby sister, Andy. She is really a very good baby, and she hardly cries at night. But my parents still use a baby monitor to check on her, just in case. I never expected that this gadget would become so important in our lives. One night, I woke up to go to the bathroom and heard a voice from Andy's room. I went to check and saw my mom standing next to the crib, singing softly, "Go to sleep, go to sleep." I smiled and went back to bed. The next morning, I went into the kitchen to have breakfast before school, and my mom was preparing scrambled eggs, still in her nightgown. But it was red, not white like the one I had seen her in the night before. I asked her why she changed, and she said, "Honey, I didn't change. Why are you asking?" I said, "I saw you last night in Andy's room, and you were wearing a white nightgown." She seemed surprised. "Honey, Andy slept through the night. I didn't go to her room." We both came to the conclusion that maybe I had been really sleepy and that I had dreamt that. A couple of days later, I woke up and saw my father working at his desk in the living room. He works from home. He had the baby monitor next to him. I said hi and turned the TV on. After a few minutes, we heard my mom through the monitor singing, "Go to sleep, go to sleep." And he said,
"I thought your mom had gone out to get some fresh fruit for breakfast."
In that moment, the front door opened, and my mom entered, carrying a grocery bag with fruit. My dad and I looked at each other, jumped up, and rushed to Andy's room. My mom followed us, asking what was happening. My dad opened the door, and we both screamed as we saw my mom standing next to the crib, wearing a white nightgown. She turned her head toward us and vanished in the air. My real mom arrived a few seconds later and asked what was happening, but neither dad nor I could move a single muscle. My dad recovered first and took Andy in his quivering arms, and he explained what had just happened. We were both scared to death. My mom remembered what I had told her a couple days ago, and we couldn't find any explanation. Not knowing what to do, my parents decided to move Andy's crib to their room so they could protect her. Days passed without anything unusual happening, and we thought we would never see this person again. But one night, my dad was working late in his home office, and my mom had gone to her room with Andy. They were both asleep when, suddenly, my mom woke up because she heard someone singing, "Go to sleep, go to sleep." And she could not believe her eyes. It was her own mom! She looked at her and vanished. My mom called my dad and started to sob uncontrollably. Once she had calmed down, she told him she knew what was happening. It turned out that my grandma had died when my mom was 1 year old, the same age Andy was now. My grandpa always used to say how much my mom resembled her. That's why my dad and I got confused. My mom said she recalled having seen her mom as she grew up, but always thought she was daydreaming. Now, she was sure that her mom had been visiting her and had come to see her new granddaughter. From that day on, my mom became obsessed with the idea of talking to her mother. They took Andy back to her room, and my mom spent her nights checking the baby monitor. Whenever she heard the lullaby, she ran to her room, but never in time to see her mom. So she started to spend the night in Andy's room, but with no results. She started to lose weight and was always dizzy from not sleeping well. My dad was worried about this whole thing, and he started to look for help. His mom told him she had a neighbor who was psychic and claimed she could speak to the dead. She gave him her number and advised him to call her. My mom and dad called the lady and agreed that she would come to visit the next weekend. That night I couldn't sleep, and I started to hear the lullaby again. "Go to sleep, go to sleep." I went on my tiptoes to my little sister's room and saw a woman with a pale face that seemed paler because her hair was as black as the robe she was wearing. I was mesmerized when I saw her, and she suddenly started to change and took the appearance of my mother while leaning over to get my sister. I gasped when she heard me, so she turned to me with a fierce look in her eyes and vanished. I screamed, and my parents rushed in to see me shaking in terror. That was it. My dad decided that we all had to go to a hotel for the rest of the week. The next Saturday, we got back home early to meet my grandma's neighbor. Her name was Nina, and after greeting us, she asked to see my sister's room, and she said she would stay there that night and that Andy should sleep with my parents. But none of us could rest that night. The house was silent, and around 3 a.m., the lullaby started. Then we heard Nina shouting in a strange language. We ran to the room, turned on the light, and saw Nina slammed in the armchair, looking pale and exhausted, sweat dripping from her face. We rushed to check and see if she was all right. She looked at us as if she didn't recognize who we were and what she was doing there. After a minute or so, which felt like hours, she told us that the spirit was evil and was not my mom's mother. She stood up and rushed downstairs, saying she didn't want to stay another minute in this house and recommended that we get out too. We moved into my dad's parents' house. It's been quiet for weeks now, but my parents still refuse to let Andy sleep in any other room in the house except theirs. We put our house up for sale, and I don't know if that's going to solve our problem or not. I hope we'll never see that ghost or whatever that thing was ever again.